All right. Okay, I'm just going to offer some things for you to consider. We're still on the topic of Federal Reserve. We're still on the topic of a very few elite people have control of our money supply, and as long as that situation occurs, me and you are going to be in trouble. We have to abolish the Federal Reserve. We have to abolish the Federal Reserve. I mean, we got to get rid of it. We got to return honest money to this country. And you're going to say, well, there's not enough gold to go back to the gold. That is a lie. That's a lie from the pits of hell. It don't care if there's 1 ounce of gold. You know, we could go back to the gold standard. There's not. Don't. Look, the progression of an economy and the stimulus of an economy has nothing to do with the fact that you can run a printing press and print trillions and trillions of $100 bills. It's about freeing the people to be free and to pursue their dreams and to get government out of their life. It's about the reinstatement of laissez-faire capitalism. And I guarantee you, when the doo-doo starts hitting the fan and things start getting tough for the average common day citizen, you're going to hear these crazy jackasses on television to try to blame capitalism. We don't have capitalism today. We have so much regulation it ain't even funny. The government is in every aspect of every private enterprise. They're in every aspect of our life. And then you're going to hear some crazy jackass get on TV and talk about, well, the reason we're in this problem today is because of capitalism. They did the same thing in 1929. We got to get back to a limited form of government, laissez-faire capitalism, and we have to return to our roots to free the individual. I'm not talking about I do believe in 3 functions of government. I am different from an anarchist. I believe in a police force. I believe in a national defense. I believe in a judiciary system. I am not an anarchist. Okay, anarchists don't believe in any form of government. Okay, let me just offer some thoughts out for you to consider. I heard the government figures recently said unemployment's at 8%, 7%, 7 or 8%. And then you have the fact that some people have been unemployed more than 6 months, which they don't even count those figures. And what I've heard is that you got to double that. As this economy continues to get worse and worse and more people get unemployed, what do you think is going to happen to the crime rate in America? I hope, pray to God, there's no crime occurs on anybody. But what do you think will happen when unemployment soars? Okay? Think about that. And then think about that in regards to the people talking against the Second Amendment. If ever there's a time to protect yourself and for the American people to protect themselves, their family, and their property, it's the time when unemployment's going through the roof, which I feel bad for the people that have lost their jobs. I might lose my job, right? I'm not saying that anybody who loses their job is going to go be a criminal. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is in a society of 285 million people, and you start getting unemployment higher and higher and higher, think about the effect that's going to have on the crime rate. Okay, we've already talked about the nationalization of all the banks. The government owns the banks. You know, you say, well, what should they have done? What was your solution? Okay, first of all, if these corrupt and greedy CEOs made bad business decisions and got into the housing market and kept thinking the housing prices were going to rise, but they didn't, and they lost all this money, that's a bad business decision. And they should have been allowed to go bankrupt. And you say, well, you have your money. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. But if you told me you might have had your money in Bank of America, would you want to lose all your money? There's a thing called FDIC, right? I think it's up to $250,000 now. The people that had their money in the bank, they should have been reimbursed. The bailout should have gone to reimburse the people that had the money in the bank, the actual customers, but the Bank of America, whatever big bank was corrupt and greedy, should have gone bankrupt, right? The business, and if there's any banks out there who ran their business well, and they did a proper business plan, and they were competent, They should have been able to allow to take over the banks that went bankrupt, and the CEOs that ran a bad business plan should have been fired and canned. And you're out of here, buddy. You didn't do a good job. Right? That should have been the way it should have been allowed to happen. And the customer should have been reimbursed up to 150 or 250, whatever the case may be. You say, well, a lot of people had more than that. Well, I'm sorry. You know, early in this country, you had to think very carefully about the bank you put your money into, and we need to start getting back to that now. You don't just willy-nilly go pick a bank. You research the bank, and you understand if they have competent leadership, moral leadership, and ethical leadership. And if you're just willy-nilly putting your money in the bank, you're doing a roulette table with your wealth. But we should have let those greedy, corrupt CEO banks, we should have let them go bankrupt, and we should have let the competent banks that do not need government bailout assistance take them all over. Because these people did the job right. These people are competent. These people are ethical. And what we have done is we've done more of the same that got us into this mess. Do you understand what I'm saying? We have rewarded the jackasses who ran their businesses with a bad business model. We have rewarded them. And now the people that did competent banking, right, are now suffering. We have punished the producers and achievers, and we have rewarded the incompetent. That's what socialism is. Do you get the picture? Do you understand what I'm trying to say about the government rewarding the jackasses who are taking all our taxpayer money and filling their own pockets and going and living luxurious lifestyles while me and you are having a hard time paying our mortgage? Do you understand what's going on? And are you angry like I am? And if I was to go to Washington, I would send every one of these jackasses where they belong, just like Ron Paul would. And excuse me for getting a little excited, but if we don't get a little excited and act like men and do something about this, we deserve everything that we get. The same story I just told about the incompetent buffoons in the banking industry is occurring in the automobile industry. You're going to reward the people who are idiots. Not only that, but all the foreign automobile industry are going to come take over America. And that gets me to another point. Why are we sending all our jobs overseas? These multinational global companies, multinational global companies. You get in these, oh man, I'm really gonna It used to be you could talk about what's good for America. It used to be you could talk about let's keep the jobs in America because we are Americans. It used to be you could be patriotic without offending a multinational global company. Don't get me started how property taxes for the individual like you and I are going up while housing prices are going down. I had to go to the tax commissioner, assessor, stand in front of a bunch of people in their little eyeglasses with the little chains hanging down and looking over their eyeglasses at me, telling me I had to prove my house ain't worth what they say it is. And you know, property taxes going through the roof and housing prices are going down, and these people wouldn't listen. They just trying to, every time we turn around, we're getting screwed by the government, we're getting screwed by taxes. It's time we stood up and acted like men and did something about it and got the word out. You know, it's easy to control people when you don't have any resistance, right? When you tell a lie and you tell it often enough that people believe it. You know, do I believe in global warming? Do I believe in that? No, I don't believe in global warming. I think it's just a method by our government to keep us all under control. You got to sacrifice. You got to sacrifice for the good of the people. When you hear that phrase, for good of society, for the good of the people, you need to wake up and raise your eyebrows and say, that person who just said that is very evil. I don't know how to say it. If the one lesson I learned by reading the books of Ayn Rand is when people talk about doing something for the good of the people, that never is the case. That's never ever the case. I'm going to continue on, make some more video on the Federal Reserve. We'll get to the end of this. Bear with me here. Thank you.